Tommy Lee Jones spent years trying to outrun a harsh beginning. His father hit him. His marriages unraveled. He drank hard and kept people at arm's length. Now, with almost 80 years behind him, the cracks are visible. At a recent premiere, he couldn't recall working with his co-star. Friends murmured that he looked unwell and disoriented. He stopped taking parts, rarely leaves his property, and keeps to his ranch. After a career built on the flinty, tight-lipped persona, the mask is slipping. The difficult truth of his later years is finally edging into view. He entered the world on September 15th, 1946, in San Saba, a tiny Texas town of roughly 3,000 souls. Turmoil was part of the household fabric from day one. His father, Clyde, labored in the oil fields and had cowboyed in earlier days. His mother, Lucille, shouldered multiple roles at once: police officer, schoolteacher, beautician. The marriage never found equilibrium. They married and divorced twice. Grist for small-town chatter. Tommy watched the cycle: arguments, separations, reunions, repeat and repeat. Every break meant another move. Stability never took root. The unpredictability of oil work amplified it. Those years made him wary and self-contained. Even as a child, he taught himself to lock his feelings away. Behind closed doors, it was worse. Clyde's temper could detonate. After 12-hour shifts under a punishing sun, he'd come home drunk and spent. A minor misstep, a bit of mud on the trailer floor, could spark a beating. The violence intensified in the early 1950 seconds, when the oil market dipped and Clyde went 6 months without a job. In Midland's trailer park, neighbors heard the thuds, the shouting, the crashes, long into the night. Later, Tommy would admit his childhood included a good deal of physical abuse. Survival meant studying his father's mood, the way other boys study a scoreboard. That famous, motionless, unreadable stare, it began as armor, showing fear, could make everything worse. Then came the morning in 1954 that rewrote the family story. Clyde was on a rig when a gas pocket blew. It happened at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. A column of fire shot 200 feet into the sky. 2 men died. Equipment melted within 50 yards. Clyde sustained third-degree burns over 30% of his body and spent 3 months in the hospital. Tommy was only 8. Yet he started picking up small jobs to keep the household afloat. 5 men were hospitalized that day. 2 died within 2 days. Tommy lay awake, hearing his father's sleep screams. He learned how one flash and roar can upend a family's entire world. He never let that lesson go. The constant breakups and job changes meant school never settled, either. By 12, he'd passed through 7 Texas schools. Every new stop, Midland, Sabinal, Rotan, meant starting over. Grades slid from A's to C's. At Robert E. Lee High School in Midland, wealthy classmates sneered. He had little money, but he had size 6'1", 200 pounds, and he refused to be a target. Football became both outlet and identity. He hit like a kid with a point to prove, sometimes too hard. Suspensions followed, but on the field, he wasn't pushed around. At 13, Clyde took a high-paying post in Libya, but Tommy stayed. He'd earned a scholarship to Street Mark's School of Texas in Dallas, among the state's elite prep schools. By 16, summertime meant returning to the rigs alongside his father. 14-hour days in 110 degrees, heat around machines that could end a life in an instant. In 1962, he watched a coworker lose 3 fingers right in front of him, blood misting across the drill floor. Help took 45 minutes to arrive. That summer, he earned $3.50 an hour, shed 25 pounds, and developed calluses that never quite faded. Once, a 500 pounds drill bit tore loose and smashed into the deck inches away. Those months taught pain, discipline, and grit, and left him with a permanent memory of diesel and near death. In 1965, he won a scholarship to Harvard. His first room, Mower Hall, B12. Across the hall lived Al Gore, future vice president. They roomed together all 4 years, later sharing space with Bob Summerby, who would run a media watchdog site. Tommy and Gore argued deep into the night about books and politics, the start of a decades-long friendship. He introduced Gore at the 2000 Democratic National Convention, and when Gore received the Nobel Peace Prize, Tommy helped host the concert. He graduated in 1969 with a degree in English literature. "Harvard taught me how to learn," he said. Learning, for him, is the core of acting. He played football too. Number 61, still 6'1", 200 pounds, an offensive guard on the undefeated 1,968 team. The season ended in legend. On November 23, 1,968, Harvard faced Yale. With 42 seconds left, Yale led 29-13. Harvard scored twice, tying it 29-29. The student papers headline the next day: Harvard beats Yale 2,929. Tommy stood on the field for that miracle. The game became a 2008 documentary. In 2010, he spoke at a screening in Dunster House. He dove into campus theater as well. His Coriolanus rattled audiences with its rawness. People spoke about it for years. He shared the stage with John Lithgow in The Ladies Not for Burning in 1967, beginning a friendship that endured. When he received the Harvard Arts Medal in 2012, he called college his finest creative gift. After graduation came New York. His professional debut, A Patriot for Me, was directed by Harold Pinter in 1969. He followed with Fortune and Men's Eyes, Four on a Garden, Blue Boys, and Ulysses in Nighttown. To pay rent, he landed steady work on One Life to Live, playing Dr. Mark Toland from 1,971 to 1,975. Film arrived in 1970 with Love Story, a small role that still made an impression. The leading man drew partly on Tommy and Al Gore, who had influenced Eric Siegel at Harvard. The movie earned over $130 million and scored 7 Oscar nominations. In 1977, he headlined The Amazing Howard Hughes, a 2-part TV biopic airing a year after Hughes's death, tracing the arc from prodigy to haunted recluse, a portrayal some still call the most accurate. That same year brought Rolling Thunder, where he played a damaged Vietnam veteran. Critics were impressed. In 1978, he co-starred in Eyes of Laura Mars, a thriller set in the violent fringes of fashion photography. It grossed $20 million and became a cult staple. He also fronted the Betsy as a racer building a next-gen car amid the energy crunch. Texas never left him, though. He established a polo spread on 55 acres in San Saba, 48 stalls, an arena, an exercise track, and underwrote Harvard Polo for more than 15 years with horses and support. He later bought a 50-acre polo farm in Florida and sold it in 2013 for $26.75 million. He wasn't chasing glamour. He'd ride through drought on rough dirt because that's cowboy ground. That's who he was. Coal miner's daughter, 1,980, changed his trajectory. As Doolittle Lynn, he anchored the true story of Loretta Lynn, with the film earning over $67 million on a $15 million budget. He received his first Golden Globe nomination. Sissy Spacek won Best Actress. Shot entirely in Kentucky and Tennessee, it felt lived in. In 2019, the Library of Congress added it to the National Film Registry. Then came 1983, and Gary Gilmore in The Executioner's Song, the relentless portrait of a convicted killer demanding his own execution. Jones won the Emmy. The 4-hour film, scripted by Norman Mailer from his book, drew on interviews with over 120 sources. His method intensity felt absolute. Some wondered about the toll, but there's no evidence it harmed him. In 1986, he took Central Park hostage in The Park Is Mine, playing a veteran, staging a one-man occupation to expose the neglect of those who served. A dead friend left plans and ammunition. He used them all. It had the muscular action of Rambo-era thrillers and a Tangerine Dream. Score big booms, no injury reports. By 1995, he directed and starred in The Good Old Boys and met Dawn Laurel, who would become his wife. He was 49 and still married. She was 31. A camera assistant. They began seeing each other on the shoot and wed on March 19, 2001, Texas. Some called the film a vanity exercise. Rumors said it ran $500,000 over budget, never confirmed. In the package, 1989, he played a prisoner assassin ensnared in a Cold War scheme. Then the world shifted. 3 months later, the Berlin Wall fell, and the premise felt instantly dated. He worked alongside Gene Hackman in Brutal Weather. Despite chatter about freezing conditions, no official injuries or extreme training appear in the record. His Academy Award arrived in 1993 with The Fugitive. As Deputy U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard, he took Best Supporting Actor over heavy hitters, including Leonardo DiCaprio. The movie earned almost $370 million worldwide. The shocker, though, was Harrison Ford. He tore his ACL during a chase, kept shooting, and endured a ruptured disc while still doing stunts. The dam jump? Reshot after failed pyrotechnics, with Ford grimacing through real pain. In 1994, Jones detonated on screen in Natural Born Killers. A prison warden so outrageous Oliver Stone battled the MPAA to avoid an NC-17. The performance spun into improvisational tirades. Executives balked. Stone kept cutting until it landed an R on August 26, 1994. The film later drew accusations of inspiring real-life violence and remains among the most controversial. Next, Batman Forever, 1995. Under the split-face makeup, tensions ran high. Jim Carrey approached him at dinner. Jones told him, "I hate you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery." Carrey had just become comedy royalty. Jones wanted none of it. The two barely meshed on set. Director Joel Schumacher brokered peace. Carrey later called the moment oddly personal and undeniably authentic. Men in Black, 1997, brought him back to action comedy with chaos in tow. He kept snapping props and accidentally clipping camera assistants. Director Barry Sonnenfeld joked the neuralizer stayed out of his hands until the last second. Jones also made sottovoce pew-pew sounds, torpedoing takes without noticing. On a car shell 15 feet in the air, Will Smith let loose a catastrophic fart. Jones nearly fainted. The movie still hauled in nearly $590 million and launched a franchise. For Double Jeopardy, 1999, he insisted on doing icy river work himself. 56 years old, FBI trained for the role, and almost drowned when he became trapped. The crew yanked him free. The film still banked $177 million. In 2005, he directed and starred in The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada, a border fable rooted in a real killing. Prep took 2 years. He learned Spanish and teamed with Guillermo Arriaga, who won Best Screenplay at Cannes. Jones won Best Actor. It earned under $10 million, but it announced his priorities: art over receipts. No Country for Old Men, 2007, cast him as Sheriff Ed Tom Bell. It earned $171 million and 4 Oscars, including Best Picture. Jones supplied its conscience, especially in the closing monologue about being outpaced by evil. The Coens wrote with him in mind. He communicates more with silence than most actors do with speeches. By 2010, he was the embattled executive in The Company Men, a drama carved from the 2008 downturn. He captured the ache of a builder forced to watch loyal workers cut loose. Budget: $15 million, filmed amid real-world anxiety. In Lincoln, 2012, he became Thaddeus Stevens. Crowned with a stark black wig, the historical Stevens had alopecia. He wanted to shave his eyebrows. Steven Spielberg refused. Months of study culminated in blistering oratory. His scenes on abolition crackle. By 2014, he was back as both star and director with The Homesman. With Hilary Swank, he ferried 3 women with mental illness across a brutal frontier. Shot for $16 million in raw New Mexico weather, with real horses and slashing winds. It stripped the romance from pioneer life. In 2016's Jason Bourne, he played CIA Chief Dewey, the man behind Bourne's father's death. The film made $415 million, but critics said he looked drained. The script's many rewrites didn't help. One quip claimed his face looked like the Grand Canyon. A year later came Shock and Awe, where he portrayed journalist Joe Galloway in the story of reporters who challenged the government's pre-Iraq war claims. The real journalists advised throughout to keep it straight. In Ad Astra, 2019, he played Brad Pitt's missing father, an astronaut gone dark near Neptune. The team pushed for realism with practical effects and punishing zero-G training. Pitt endured nausea, as Jones kept a lower profile. The film grossed $135 million and earned a Best Sound Mixing nomination. In 2020's Wander, he played a conspiracy theorist, co-hosting a podcast with a paranoid investigator. Nodding to MK-Ultra, border surveillance, and chip implants. It scored 4.9 out of 10 from over 10,000 IMDb users, but Jones gave it gravity. Then, 2023, delivered that uneasy, finest kind moment. Next to Jenna Ortega, he asked, "Did we have any scenes together?" She kindly reminded him they did. The clip spread fast. People wondered, memory problems? Illness? It happened 2 days before release and left a chill. Jones never sought celebrity. Even so, myth and rumor gathered. Some tales are accurate, some half-true, some baseless. One persistent claim: he passed on Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption. There's no solid evidence. Tom Hanks skipped Shawshank for Forrest Gump. Tim Robbins stepped in. In Pulp Fiction, actors like Michael Madsen and Lawrence Fishburne famously passed on roles, but Jones was never officially attached. Another story alleges he punched a stuntman on Under Siege and quietly paid $100,000. There's no record. The 1992 hit supercharged Steven Seagal's profile and featured Jones in peak form with no official production issues recorded. There's also the rumor Samuel L. Jackson nearly quit the Sunset Limited over clashes with Jones. The 2011 two-hander is intense, but interviews from the time show mutual respect. Jackson later called it one of his most demanding jobs because of the ideas not on-set drama, no walkout, no fight. Another oft-repeated claim, a polo injury delayed Men in Black 2. In truth, production began in June 2001 and released in 2002. Schedule changes came from 9/11 edits to New York scenes, not Polo. While Jones has had polo spills, a 1,998 fall left him unconscious. None slowed MIB. One story that is true. During Black Moon Rising, 1,986, he was drinking heavily. Co-star Linda Hamilton later said working with him was miserable because of it. She didn't sugarcoat it. He never publicly detailed those years. He kept it to himself. He was 40, still trying to nail down his film career, a personal and professional low. His private life was turbulent. He married Kate Lardner on New Year's Eve, 1,971, granddaughter of Ring Lardner. She had 2 children from a previous marriage and paused her acting to support him. By 1978, it was over. The divorce filing on February 9th cited work obsession. He was rarely home. Just over 6 years. Kate rebuilt as a sound editor. He wed again in 1981 to Kimberly Cloughley, a photographer he met on back roads. 2 children followed, Austin, 1,982, and Victoria, 1,991. During The Fugitive, 1,993, whispers of an on-set affair circulated. The following year on Blue Sky, tabloids linked him to Jessica Lange. Kimberly filed in 1996. She received full custody, substantial support, and a sizable settlement. He became visibly emotional during custody negotiations. He didn't want distance from his children. That marriage lasted nearly 15 years. He met Dawn Laurel while making The Good Old Boys in 1995. She was behind the camera. They clicked. He remained married, but the end was in sight. By 1998, they appeared publicly together. On March 19, 2001, they married quietly in Texas. Her sister helped design parts of their ranch. Then, in 2024, rumor mills spun again. Whispers that Dawn faced a serious diagnosis. Nothing has been confirmed. But Jones abruptly stepped away from work. At 78, he reportedly told friends he wanted to remain close to Dawn on their 30,000-acre Texas spread. It wasn't his only holding. In 2002, he purchased a 55-acre polo ranch in San Saba with 48 stalls and a pro-level field. A serious accident in 2010, a guest badly injured during a match, led to a $2.3 million lawsuit, alleging unsafe conditions and poor horse care. Jones fought and won. The court said polo is inherently dangerous. Even so, legal fees topped $400,000. Back in 1998, at a different ranch near Houston, he was thrown when a horse stumbled and stepped on him. He blacked out, went to the hospital, and 2 days later was back watching his team from the sideline. He keeps his kids out of the spotlight. Austin appeared once a banjo player in The Homesman, 2014, and contributed to the soundtrack, then shifted wholly to music. Albums Dead Calm, 2022, and At the Polo Club, 2023, arrived on Perpetual Doom. He's also scored films like Fanta and Metamorphosis Junior Year. Victoria made a few brief appearances. Men in Black 2, at 11. Later, The 3 Burials of Melquiades Estrada. At one point, he even fired her from a set for arriving late. The crew cooled tempers. By December 2023, worry spiked. At the Finest Kind premiere, he looked gaunt and shaky. Friends were shaken. His eyes were hollow. He asked Jenna Ortega if they'd worked together, forgetting they'd shared a scene. She gently reminded him. The clip raced online. People asked, memory loss? Illness? In 2025, speculation surged: cancer, Alzheimer's, something else, but no official word. Jones guards his privacy, especially about health. Still, his appearance, speech, and sudden withdrawal from acting made the worst feel plausible. Financially, there were hits, too. In 2019, he sold his Wellington, Florida polo estate for $105 million. It sounds enormous, but he'd listed it at $26.75 million in 2013, a $15.8 million loss. He assembled it over time: $2.95 million in 2002, $1 million in 2003, $550,000 in 2012. 2 polo fields, dozens of stalls, a staff house, and still, no takers for years. He kept his vast 3,000-acre Texas ranch with its 150-year-old home, 50 horses, and working cattle. Even after all the storms, his estimated net worth in 2025 sits around $100 million. Built on The Fugitive, Men in Black, and No Country for Old Men, along with directing, writing, and producing. In 2012, he received the Donostia Lifetime Achievement Award at the San Sebastian Film Festival, honoring more than 70 films across decades. That tribute came while he was still vigorous and present. Today, he keeps mostly quiet on his land, far from Hollywood, respected, formidable, and as inscrutable as ever.